final inductee is Scott Gragg, and I realize I'm not going to have to lower this microphone for him. Probably the tallest guy that you're going to see walk up here tonight, and Scott had a beautiful career with 49ers and Grizzlies, so please welcome Scott Gragg.
Scott Gragg is another great Grizzly lineman being inducted tonight. Drafted by the New York Giants in '95, Scott was traded to the Niners in 2000 where he was a team captain. Todd Peterson was one of Scott's best friends, but football may not have been their whole life.
Scott, why don't you come and tell us what God's doing in your life?
Thanks, Pastor. You need to know that I grew up in a great home where my family, my mom and dad and my brother, expressed and were an example of God's love, grace, and forgiveness in my life. About 30 years ago at a Christian rock concert, Petra, you might know that group, but Petra concert in Oregon, was invited to come forward and receive God's gift. And I did that, went forward about 30 years ago when I was in 7th or 8th grade, middle school. And so I responded to that invitation and received Christ at that time. Then later in college here at the University of Montana, a guy by the name of Spike McGowan introduced me or challenged me more of what that faith looks like and how to have Christ as the center of my life and how to live for Him.
Well, as Scott makes his way up to the dais, I got to tell you, I worked at Montana State for 23 years, and I had to watch a lot of Bobcat Grizzly football games. And Scott, I got to tell you, I was sick and tired of you doing a forward roll in the end zone after every time the Grizzlies scored against the Bobcats. I was going to buy you a tutu to see if you could go to gymnastics.
Thanks. I wasn't going to make this a Bobcat Grizz thing, but my back sore with all those somersaults. No, it's a great rivalry, and thank you so much for the committee, the state of Montana, for honoring me and my family, and what stands before you is a guy that played for the Grizz and then went on to play in the NFL. But there's so many other people that made this happen. And for me to be able to wear this jacket and stand in front of you, it wouldn't be possible. Folks like Spike McGowan, Don Reed, my parents, Bill and Carol, who are here, set a work ethic. We've heard that from almost every inductee today, and I'm sure with all of those that have come before us, that work ethic, setting goals, believing in you, loving you, encouraging you. I couldn't have done it with that. If you look at some of the stats in the NFL and how people rarely transition well out of pro football, and you look at the legacy that Ken Staninger left with his guys and all those that stood up and have transitioned well beyond football, is a mark of what Ken did to all of us. And so it needs to be said that he was a great agent. I did tease him all the time when we were cleaning fish and smoking ribs that he was a full-service agent. But just the tremendous man that he was and is impact in my life for sure. I'll be really brief, I hope. I didn't prepare any comments, but from Oregon, grew up in Oregon. Bob Beers and Tommy Lee came to my chemistry classroom in the fall of 1989. Tommy Lee, obviously offensive coordinator, went on and coached a bunch of years for a lot of different levels. Came into my classroom to talk to me about the University of Montana and their football program. And I went back to my seat after we'd gone to the back room and talked a little bit. And I said, I am never going to Montana. I don't know what they got over there. I thought Tommy Lee was a Native American, and I didn't know what the school was about. Knew nothing about Montana. But it's so crazy to think that a guy that grew up in small town Oregon knew nothing about Montana, and whatever it is, 30 years later, being recognized for a state that adopted me. And I take it with great pride being introduced as Scott Gragg, number 74, number 78, University of Montana. Spent a lot of time coaching in Montana, administrating in Montana. Just this place is home to me. That same year, well, the next year, my redshirt year, I got in a red shirt huddle, surrounded by a bunch of kids from Montana, and my first blocking assignment was to block Chad Lemke. And so I went and I hit Chad Lemke, middle linebacker. I knew nothing about him. I hit him as hard as I could. I think he picked me up by my face mask. So you ever do that again, I'm going to kill you. And sure enough, the next card had me go block the middle linebacker, and I tried to hit him as hard as I possibly could. And by the end of that, I was covered with punches, and I got into a fight I didn't even know I was in. And all of my buddies from the team, freshman redshirt buddies, came in, and I got a quick history lesson and geography lesson about Butte, Montana, and how to do things. Those same guys, though, later that year, I had hurt my shoulder, what I thought I had hurt my shoulder, and so I couldn't practice one day. And those same guys, Chad Germer, Chad Lemke, all these upperclassmen guys from Montana said, and I was going to take the practice off. He said, "That's not what we do here. We practice." And that instilled in me what it meant to be a champion, what it meant to be a Grizz, and I'll ever be indebted to those folks for teaching me and giving me the opportunity to play for a great state, a great university, and to be recognized in a state that I didn't grow up in, but I counted as home. So with that, thank you so much. So thank you for the committee. Thank you to my family, my bride Tony, who is a Carroll College grad, also from Oregon. My family, my daughter's in college now playing, and my son's just graduated from high school, and it's a dream come true for them to be able to spend much of their life in Montana as well is great. So thank you, Montana, for everything you've given me. Thanks.